I said I would never use this curriculum. But if I've learned anything after 10 years of homeschooling, is to never say never. Today, I'm gonna share with you guys what the curriculum is I said I would never use, why I said I would never use it, why I decided to use it, and what I've been thinking about it so far. So let's get started. So one curriculum that I have said I would never use, even before we had kids, was Math UC. Now, you might be wondering, why would you have such a strong opinion before you even have children? Well, that brings me to the first reason why I said I would never use it. And that is from personal bias from when I was a kid. You see, I grew up homeschooled, and while I never used this curriculum directly, I had many friends, other family members that had used it, and I had just seen it firsthand and felt like it was not very engaging. I felt like the curriculum itself, I was not attracted to the type of the method of the way they taught things. And personally, as somebody with severe ADHD, the idea of staying stuck in one particular topic for an entire year and doing nothing but that did not appeal to me whatsoever. And I truly brought the bias of a teenage child into the homeschool decision. And while that sounds silly, I do just want to acknowledge it because we all do this to some extent. We bring in our biases from past experiences into our curriculum choices, and sometimes it can do us a disfavor. The second reason I said I would never use it is because I felt it was on the pricier side. Now, if you guys have followed my channel for a while, you know I'm not afraid of curriculum that's on the pricier side, but I typically will pay more money for curriculum because it's more hands-off, my child's able to do it more independently, or because I felt like it's definitely more engaging or enticing to them. And for this, I didn't feel like that was the case. But probably the biggest reason that I chose not to touch Math UC for years is because of its mastery approach. Now, there are many curriculums that claim a mastery approach, but this one truly is. In this book, they literally only cover addition and subtraction for the entire year. No telling time, no counting money, just addition and subtraction. And that to me sounded ridiculous, to be honest. To me, I was very overwhelmed by the idea of what if my child struggles with something and then they're literally sitting in it all year long without any ability to try out something new that they might be better at or to kind of review through different concepts. I also had heard and I have seen that this curriculum is very hard to enter into or exit out of if you need to, because you, when you get done with this level, will have completely mastered adding and subtraction. No doubt about it. But if you were to leave this curriculum, let's say in kindergarten or first grade, and the next year go to a new curriculum, there are a whole bunch of other concepts that they've been covering that were never covered in here. That being said, if you stick with Math UC from beginning to end, you will have a mastery concept of all of the math concepts and be just fine. So I knew this about this curriculum, that if you stayed in it from the beginning, then you would be great. But if you ever left it, you could find yourself in some trouble. So Katie, if there's all those reasons why you said you never use it, why did you start using it in the first place? Well, let me explain. My fourth child, my daughter, has a lot of medical needs and a lot of learning needs. You see, she has been screened thoroughly, and if you want to learn more about that and what some of the results were from that, I'll definitely leave a link down below that you guys can check out. But they discovered that there are a lot of cognitive issues and delays that are going on. We are really struggling in a lot of areas with school. When we learn a new concept, the old one literally disappears. Her working memory is very, 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 very short. And we were struggling a lot with using many different math curriculums. She would succeed, she would do well. And then once we introduced another concept, she would completely lose what she had before. And so because of that, it was recommended to me by the doctors to consider doing something that was more mastery approach, or instead of introducing new concepts here and there and every few lessons introducing something new that would push that old stuff off the table memory-wise, they recommended that I go with something more mastery. And this, you definitely can't get more mastery than this. With the Math UC program, I'm able to work on addition and subtraction, to work on it thoroughly. And by the time we will be done with this program, it will not just be something that she's been introduced to, but that she'll have a mastery of, and therefore will be stored in long-term memory. Instead of continually keeping it on that table of her working memory and her short-term memory. We'll be able to file it away, and then we can build on it from there. So we decided mid-year to switch and to jump into Math-U-See. And while my concern still stands that it's not a curriculum that can easily be moved in and out of, we recognized that where she was at as far as what she truly had mastered was a very, very, very young age. So we were able to start at the beginning and start at the alpha level and to jump into it without it being too incredibly insulting to her. And we were able to start there and take it at the speed that she is going. That's ultimately why I decided to try it. But what I learned as we went through it is that it could actually be paired fairly easily with additional curriculums if I wanted to do so. So if I wanted to work on time or money, or wanted to have some kind of maybe review of a concept she had been previously introduced to in another curriculum, and she asked for more information about that, I could get a supplemental workbook from like Kuman or from even Dollar Tree. There's those supplemental workbooks, and we could work on those additional skills. Now, right now, we're not choosing to do that because we are sticking with the mastery approach, but if it is something you guys are thinking about, it is something that could pair well with something else in order to kind of keep you up to date on other things that are going. I was really surprised to learn how truly hands-off this curriculum is. Like I said before, I didn't want to invest money into it if it was something that was going to be heavily teacher intensive. I have 6 kids, many with special needs, and so math is one of those things I've always preferred to find things that can be a little bit more hands-off so that it allows me to be able to focus on other areas of struggle, like reading in our home. But I was surprised by how hands-off this curriculum was. You see, she watches a video usually on Mondays, and she's able to do that independently. It does the teaching for me, and then she has worksheets she does every day. Now, right now, those worksheets are not hard to grade and go through, but they do require me to double check all of her work. And right now, because it's addition and subtraction, I can do that fairly easily. I could definitely see as the curriculum gets harder, as she gets into the older ages, that might take me a little bit more time because I'm gonna have to pull out a teacher's manual and double check it all. But I was surprised by how independent she was able to do things initially. Usually I have to do that very first lesson with her after the teaching training just to make sure she understood and got all of the concepts. But then for the rest of the week, she can usually do at least 75% of her worksheets on her own independently, which surprised me. I was also surprised by how quick the lessons were. They really are not taking her a super long time. And I know we're not dealing with really hard concepts, but for her, even addition and subtraction can be really a challenge. And so previous curriculums that we've tried have really sat in a topic for, 30 minutes, 40 minutes at times, maybe even 20 minutes. But sometimes she can actually finish these closer to 10 to 15 minutes a day, making the lesson more enjoyable, making her less overwhelmed, and really avoiding a lot of the meltdowns. So what's my opinion? We've been using it now for about 6 months, 7 months at this point. What is my opinion of Math-U-See so far? Honestly, I really have been pleasantly surprised. I've been really impressed by the quality of the material. I absolutely love the manipulatives that are used with the blocks. That has really been a great connection piece for her as she's been able to work out her math problems well. One thing that I always say with my special learners is that I want to hold the bar the same. I want to have high standards for them. I want to give them every tool and everything they need to meet that bar. So with her, there are a lot of cognitive things that are going on. There are a lot of learning struggles that she is not in control of whatsoever. So I'm going to hold her to the standard of doing this curriculum, but having those manipulatives is what allows her to be able to do it. At any given point, she is welcome to pull out the manipulatives that are used and be able to use them for the addition or subtraction. They are color-coded, which helps them to stick in her brain easier. They are a hands-on aspect, so they apply to her kinesthetic learning style. And it really has been fun to use throughout the lessons. I still personally think the teacher is a little dry and he talks really slow, but I will say my daughter is 100% fully engaged, and even some of my other kids will join in on the lessons because they enjoy listening to him. He does explain things well in a way that she can understand. So for that, I'm very grateful, even though it's never something that I'm going to sit down and enjoy watching for fun. One thing I definitely have loved the most is the digital teacher toolbox. This is a really great resource if you are thinking about using Math-U-See. It gives you all of the video lessons digitally, so it makes it easier to watch them on the go. video. Sometimes we do them on my TV, sometimes on a tablet or a phone. So it allows us to be able to take those lessons a little bit more mobile, but it also gives you additional worksheets. So if there is something they're struggling with that they need to sit in a little bit longer, or maybe you have progressed to the next lesson and you realize you need to go back a little bit, you can print off additional worksheets. Now, it doesn't replace the student workbook. I was kind of hoping maybe that might be the case, but it does not. But it was really helpful to have the ability to have additional practice at any given point. The student workbook has a lot of practice sheets under each lesson. It's not designed that you do all of those. It's designed that you have options and you can work on it as long as you need to. So maybe a lesson's gonna take you a couple of days. Maybe it's gonna take you a week, or maybe you're gonna sit in it for a month because that's what you need to do. There are enough worksheets to be able to sit in it for as long as you need, especially if you have the teacher tools online as well. And so for us, we are taking it slower. I could go through much, much faster with her and probably get her out of this level quickly, but I really am shooting for that mastery to where she can look at it and do it confidently and quickly. And that is something I'm really appreciating about this curriculum. All of that to say never. Be careful what you swear you'll never use, because there may be a season or a moment or a child that is in your life who may need that curriculum at some point. We'll be continuing Matthew C for next year for her. It's not something I'm using with all of my kids. It's not something I'm 100% sold on for everybody, but for her and her season and her situation, it has been a godsend. If you want to learn more about the other math curriculums I use for my kids, be sure to check out this video here.